I'm with, your name is?
Marlene Botha.
And you're here in Jersey because?
Because I need a rest, and this amazing place is the closest I can find to home, and I just love coming here. I've come today to give a talk in the church about my work. I work for London City Mission. I'm a city missionary, which is a bit of a bizarre concept.
Right.
Especially coming from Africa to come and share the good news of Jesus too.
That's exactly one of the things I want to talk to you about, because this condition, you showed a little video today, and what I know about the mission, it was founded when there were very severe social problems in London. And from your video you showed us today, there are still social problems of a very similar sort in London.
That's right. Yeah.
So that part of it hasn't changed much.
No, it hasn't. Unfortunately, the world is still a messed up place. And no matter, we can put plasters on, but unless we do heart surgery, it's not likely to change. If you don't get people's hearts changed, then the outward problems will always remain the same.
I have to say to you, I have no faith myself, and I'm not sure that faith has an answer to the problem, not to the social problems, but obviously helps people to have a belief, to think there is a better possibility.
Yeah, for me personally, it is my foundation. It's the rock on which I stand, because I tried it years ago, just to do it on my own, and I was just like, I can't do this. There has to be more to life than what we see. If this is life, with kids being abused and elderly being violated, I mean, inward we are just bad people, all of us, no matter how wonderful we think we are and how wonderful we say we are. We don't treat the environment the way we should. We don't treat each other the way we should. Then this is a very sad. There has to be more to life than this.
In London, that you're working, you're meeting with youngsters and people who've been exposed to education. They've seen television. They see what's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. What's the message they're not getting?
Hope. They're being told, like, if you're beautiful and you've got the right image, you'll be happy. If you've got status and you are like respected because you are the best drug dealer on the block, and you've got the most violence in you, then you'll get respect. If you sleep around and you can have as many girls on your, that's the solution. Or money, like all you need is lots and lots of money, then that's the end of your problems. But it's not.
Those sort of issues are very much where you are. You're in the East End. I presume most of the missions are in the East End of London, but not in affluent areas generally.
Well, all over London, but definitely in the East End.
Right.
And some South London, North London, even like by Grenfell, in West London.
Well, I would have said, like, you in a posh area like Kensington, you don't expect to get these social problems. But of course, as we've witnessed very recently with the Grenfell, social conditions in that area can be very bad. You can literally go from Kensington Palace on one side of the road and just walk a few blocks down the road, and you're finding terrible social problems and poverty.
We've got a centre in Vauxhall. We used to have a centre even in Soho. So there are still the people who work for, who don't get benefits, or they're illegal, or the homeless. We've got a homeless centre in Weber Street, by Waterloo, which serves breakfast and showers for homeless people. It doesn't allow overnight accommodation, but at least they can come off the cold and at night come for a hot breakfast, a cooked breakfast.
The strange thing is we don't expect to encounter these social problems in the same way where there is affluence.
Yeah, no,
why is that? Why don't affluent people behave as badly?
Because they don't care. They just don't care. It's the selfish environment. If me, myself and I look after myself, and if I just walk past the corridor and blank the poor people, and I just don't mix. I don't need to meet them, and it's not my responsibility, and therefore I just...
You've come to Jersey for a little bit of break, bit of recharge the batteries. But of course, this island's got its huge social problems, and as you will have heard, there's been a huge social inquiry going on about child abuse over many decades. So it's not, this is an affluent society in parts, but not all over, is it? It's not evenly spread. The affluence isn't evenly spread. Do you think if the affluence was evenly spread, would those problems disappear?
I don't know. For me, money is not the solution.
No.
In an ideal world, if you look at the believers who believed in Jesus way back, the first believers, the first church, what they did is once they believed in Jesus, his teachings taught them to share. So the rich were sharing with the poor, and the poor were helping the rich, because you don't want just money from the rich people to go into poor people and that's the solution. No, there needs to be heart surgery. You need to really care about each other. You need that poor person to say, look, that rich person over there hasn't got childcare or is too tired to cook. Maybe I can cook him a simple meal. I've got the time. I can cook them a simple meal, and the rich person can say, oh, I can pay that bill for that person and prevent his house being evicted. There has to be a caring of each other, not an abuse. So, and it has to be with respect, that the rich don't do it because they here's my money and don't come back to me, I don't want to see you. No, you want friendships, genuine friendships, you want genuine care, relationships. And I truly believe that it's only through Jesus Christ that I can have
the mission in London. Who actually founded it originally back in the 19th century? Who was the founder?
A guy called David Naismith, 1843. He started the mission.
With money or without money or with nothing?
A few Christian businessmen saw his heart, saw his vision, and they put some money together to pay one missionary salary so that person can go full-time out and minister to the poor people, literally going from door to door and sharing the good news. He didn't have money to give, but what he had, he gave. And what it wasn't silver or gold, but it was the good news of Jesus. Wow. And that through Jesus, you can have community, you can have salvation, you can have life. And the church was started in those poor areas, because then the people started sharing their income and their resources and the social problems, instead of being depressed and starting to drink yourself into a coma because you don't have a solution how to provide for your family. We had, I've read in the archives about times when the Thames froze over.
Which is quite a regular occurrence.
Where there was no work for the dock workers.
Exactly.
And so there's no coal for them to heat up their homes, and the children are dying from hunger and stuff. The church was there to support the little resources and stuff.
But I always look at it, Charles Dickens was the television of his day. He was giving that message then. But that message is being pumped out all the time now. Television, we see documentaries all around the world, not London, East End, all over the world, of similar social problems. I'm still looking for the political answer. We haven't found it yet. But faith doesn't seem to me to offer me much regarding solving the problems. It doesn't seem to be... It might help me personally if I had faith, but...
Well, I can share testimonies of... I've been working in the East End now for 15 years. And, I came to the East End not to be a missionary. I came to see the world and travel. And I came for a month holiday. And after a month, I decided, no, I like it. I'll stay a bit longer, and I'll stay a bit longer now. And now it's been 20 years that I've been there. And I started volunteering at this centre in 2000. I started volunteering, and I really liked what they were doing. There was no division between the Muslims and the...
Did you have a faith at that stage?
I did, yeah. At 16, the Lord came into my life, and I realized I can have a personal relationship with my Creator God. And how awesome is that? That the Creator of the universe wants to be in a personal relationship, not like a national one, but a personal one, with me, Marlene. And He knows me better than I know myself. So
I want to discuss a little bit about your origins, because you are from Africa, South Africa, I believe.
African, yes.
And I presume, I don't know which church your family were in, but...
Well, my dad's not a believer, and my mum is from the Dutch Reformed Conservative Church.
Right.
But myself, when I attended Sunday school and stuff with Mom, and when I was 16, I had a sleepover at a friend's house, and basically at age 11, before the sleepover, at 11, I came to the conclusion that a lot of the church people are hypocrites, and I don't want to be like them. So between 11 and 16, I had no faith. I knew there was a God, and I purposefully didn't want to be in a relationship with Him, because I judged the world, I judged the church on the people inside the church, and they talk on a Sunday and they walk during the week was two different things, and I didn't want to be like that.
Well, of course, in my lifetime, the history of South Africa has gone through extraordinary reform. Whether that was, I don't think it was brought about by church activity, it was brought about by political activities, revolutionary activities, in fact. So now you've got a complete turnabout. I mean, the world that's the sort of derived really from the missionary element has been overturned. And now you've got, I don't know what actually, from a faith point of view, I don't actually know what is the recurring theme now in South Africa. What is it?
To tell you the truth, I'm not sure myself, because I've been living in London for 20 years, and I'm so preoccupied with London that...
Well, you certainly have all the social problems that go with Western way of life, which I presume didn't exist originally in Africa because it wasn't that sort of developed country. So I suppose these are, to a large extent, problems that go with development, aren't they?
Yeah. So yes, it's a different world. In Africa, we don't have benefit system, or it's so small, it's insignificant.
Right.
So when I get frustrated, when the East Enders tell me they can't make a living on, how do people expect them to live on £60 a week? And I'm thinking, my goodness, you're getting £60 for free. In Africa, you don't get a house, you don't get milk money, you don't get heating money, you don't get £60, you get nothing. You're literally out on your own, under a bridge or a bush, starving. And if you don't work, you don't eat. It's a pretty simple principle.
Which is the sort of scenario which forces people into crime, isn't it? It's bound to, isn't it?
It does, yeah. It does, but then you also get a culture that it's easier to steal than to work, and like it depends. It's hard. It's not for me to make a judgment on it, but yeah, I can see why people steal if your child is hungry and crying. I get that, but in the same sense, is it right? No, it's not right. And how far do you push it? And when do you call it a day and say this is not right?
I mean, the churches generally are very particular not to become politicised.
Yeah.
Does your mission not find itself getting drawn into that? Obviously, there were people who want you to be drawn in.
All the time. I mean, we get the politicians. We've got a little internet cafe on the island, and it's interesting. Come voting time, we're right next to a school, and they use the school as a polling station. So all the politicians come down for coffee during voting times, and they all try and argue their point. And it's important for me to say, look, I'm not taking sides. What does Jesus say? Let's see what he says. He says, love your enemy. He says, turn the other cheek. He says, give. He says, share. He doesn't say kill and murder and slander and go about. So following just the teachings of Jesus.
It's the way that missionaries move around the world. I don't know whether it's easier to be a missionary in somebody else's country. I don't know whether that's a factor. But it's ironic. The pastor here now is from America at the moment. Now, obviously, America now, as we can all see on television, again, the great communicator, it's flooded in Texas, huge social problems. And there are, we've been told people are helping themselves, but there are people going around looting. So there's something very radically wrong in the thinking process for a lot of people, isn't there? I don't know how you correct it. I don't know what the message ought to be. But.
Well, that's it. Like, I don't think you can do it yourself. That's why I keep saying you need to have heart surgery. Your heart needs to be changed. Because no matter how hard you try, you don't just suddenly say, I'm a good person, I'm a changed person, and I'm going to stop doing X, Y, and Z. You need a bigger motivator to do it. And I believe that when you experience God's love and His mercy, and you realize that I have done lots of things wrong, and here is a creator God that loves me so much that He gave His Son to me to die, not because the Son has done anything wrong, but because He's a just God, and He said the wages of sin is death. And He has to, in order to stay just, somebody has to die. And rightfully I should die because I'm the one who sinned. But He says, I love you so much that I'm willing to let my Son die for you. And the Son Himself says, Dad, I'm willing to go and sort out this mess, let me die. If you experience that much love, then you can't help but to give that love to somebody else in return.
If you return to South Africa, what will you do?
I will do exactly the same work I'm doing now.
Well.
I used to be an optician. I studied optometrics, and I don't think I got frustrated with that because people would come in and you'll help them to see better, but it becomes all about like, what do I look like?
Fashion. It's fashion.
The fashion. Am I
the
cool?
right name on the frame.
That was the one side. And the other side, it was the business side for me, where my boss is telling me I have to sell more expensive frames, I have to sell more expensive lenses. That doesn't really add to the patient's benefit that much, but it adds to my boss's pocket. And it's just like, is this life, money and looks? There has to be more to life. And now, it's actually wonderful when I take one of my friends that I meet in the community. I had an elderly lady, and her glasses were messed up, and I booked an appointment, and I could go and I could assist her, help a pair of glasses that won't rob her, but gives her the benefit with the right looks. I mean, it makes such a difference.
What we want is a magic pair of glasses which would make people see the inequalities that there are.
Yeah, if you can just see past the exterior. I mean, we've got in our church a guy who I've known for 12 years now, and he only started coming to church this past 5 years. He was a drug addict, he was an alcoholic, chain smoker, and he still has anxiety problems, and he comes to our cafe every day. And every day he might have a new problem and a new crisis, and it's exhausting for us because he is physically and mentally a drain for us. But we love him, and because we love him, he's started turning his life around. And it's now 5 years, and he stopped smoking, he stopped drinking, he stopped using drugs. He's now actually at a point where he's like, even caffeine makes him feel bad, that he's like, I think I need to go for decaf coffee because, and it's just, no doctors could have done that for him. He's 60 years old. All his life he's been struggling with anxieties and insecurities and stuff. And coming to a group of people who don't judge him, and just loves him and supports him and encourages him, but won't let him just run riot either, who holds him accountable to stuff. And you can literally see how and he says the only thing that calms him down now is when he prays to God, and God speaks to him. So
I'm going to leave it there. I think in this context, God should have the last word.
Excellent, wonderful.